We are all a little messed up. I mean, I'll just say I'm a little messed up from the, intense 90s, early 2000s. You can't go to coffee until you know if you're gonna marry this person, unless
Mm,
God has dropped an angel out of heaven that has sung heavenly songs unto thine ears. And we're all weird. We're all I mean, I feel weird, and
yep,
it's hard, even in my body still after all the work I've done, after coaching all the things my body still has to work through, "You can do this." "You can do this, you can have a conversation, you can go to coffee,"
yeah.
but it's so deeply ingrained in my body of, you're doing something wrong or lustful or, um
Serious. You're doing
s
something
yeah.
really serious.
Heavy, serious, high risk, gonna die. And so, yeah, talk to us, Lauren, about
Yeah.
your expertise and your coaching of as we're building a relationship, how the heck do we do this well, and what are kind of the stages that we can expect to do that? Welcome to the Dating and Desire podcast, a place for conversations and resources on sexual formation for adult Christians.
I'm Lauren Matthews.
And I'm Bridgett Bled.
Together, we combine our years of ministry experience and time as certified coaches, helping men and women just like you navigate dating in a way that honors your core values.
Each week, you'll hear us talk to therapists, pastors, coaches, and other leaders in the field of sexuality and relationships.
While we acknowledge believers hold various perspectives on this topic,
We're gathered around the belief that our desire is holy
our body is good.
and our story matters.
Let's dive in. Well, here's the thing. The fact that you said it's so ingrained in me and it's so global, and the consistency with which I hear and have experienced in my dating life, feeling that pressure, it lets me know more than one thing is going on. So, I'm as irritated with purity culture as the next person. I'm not going to put any pennies on what purity culture has cost us and the way we view getting together. I know one hallmark message of my youth group days that has followed me all through my dating life was every date is a potential mate. Every youth conference I went to, multiple iterations of dating sermon series and youth group. Into my college days, every date is a potential mate. In college, I went to a really conservative Christian college, the name of which I will never divulge on the internet. But a place that in the rule book said if a boy and a girl are together, it is a date. So
What?
walking from the library to the dining common together was a date. Having a meal together was a date. Sitting together in a public place was a date. This is crazy pressure. But also, we have outside of, and I'm not saying that's everybody's message, but even outside of the church, there's a lot of pressure on letting them know you like them. So I first want to normalize part of the pressure that we feel is it's human. We want something deeply, which is good. And it's normal to feel some ratcheting up of intensity around the
Yeah.
possibility of being rejected or accepted by someone.
Mhm.
I'll say that first. But we have to undo that because the days of social circumstances easily guiding people into romantic opportunities are gone. We have to
Mhm.
do this on purpose now, and I mean, it's just the day in which we live. I don't think it's good or bad. I think it's different, just different. In times of old, dads were marrying people together for great or horrible reasons, and
Yeah.
now we download an app and we shoot our shot. And so, um, I don't think there's any moral opinion we have to have about it, but if we're going to do it successfully, we have to find a way to lessen the pressure on these initial situations. So when I think about stages of dating, um, this is not gospel truth. There are lots of ways you can formulate this, but I think the principles are going to stand. There's an initial stage where you're getting to know each other, in my opinion, while getting to know other people to help a little bit with detachment. But an initial stage is getting to know each other, to get to know if you're having fun with each other, if you have to explain every other word you're using in your normal conversation, or if there's a flow and an ease, if there's um, an accommodation of each other, if there's a initial respect of your boundaries and just a desire and an enjoyment of being together. Um, that can take a little bit. A stage two would be a committed relationship, exclusivity, continuing to get to know each other, just the two of you, and letting all the types of intimacy deepen, right? So intellectual and spiritual and physical and emotional intimacy deepen appropriately so that you continue to get to know each other and get an even better view of how this person holds your heart. And then as you move through a stage two, I would say you end up in a stage three where you're leveling up your commitment, engagement, and moving toward marriage. So I give that overarching arc to kind of frame our time, but we really want to hone in on that first stage. What's it like to get to know someone? And kind of we want to think about what's coming up in our bodies. What are some things that we need to be keeping in mind for men and for women who are dating? Um, how can we tell that we want to keep moving forward with someone or that we need to take a step back?
Yeah.
So
Love
I
it.
think initially, I have strong opinions, Bridget, about how
Okay.
long this
I'm ready
stage
for 'em.
could take.
Yeah.
This should take. I know that there are, nope, here's what I'll say. A lot of the timing that I'm going to use is based on your stage of life. So if you're a listener who is um, early days of college, um, 18 to 22, 24, maybe you're in graduate school, the timing on this might look different
Yeah.
than our listeners who are in their 30s, in their 40s, late 20s, and who have um, other priorities that are also pushing making this decision. When you are younger, you have more time. You have more time to, especially the ladies listening, you have more biological time to make a decision. You also might have other priorities that are competing neck and neck or even more important in your life than connecting with someone romantically. It might be really important to you to finish your degree first or finish the practicum, um, get your clinical hours in, or finish your apprenticeship so that you're in a better place financially. I don't think that has to be a wrong thing. But when I think about dating and the people that I am typically coaching, I'm coaching people who are in their 30s and 40s.
Mhm.
And so I think it's important that this connection stage not be the longest thing in the world. I don't think you need to date someone for 4 months or 5 months to get to know if you want to be in an exclusive relationship with them. Um, I think in a perfect world, if you're going out once a week, by date six, seven, eight, I think you should know because of the intentionality with which you've been dating, you should have a good idea of if you want to move forward or if you should definitely pull away. What does
Mm.
that sound like to you, Bridget? What does that feel like when I say that amount of time? Because I
Yeah,
know it's not long.
I think for me, the underlying of that is authenticity. Because
Ooh,
I think people can go on 30 dates and not be authentic and you don't actually know the
girl,
person.
you better talk about it. Yeah.
So I think for me, and then I have a couple thoughts. I think for me, my first question is, are are you understanding the framework that this means you've met this person for the first time on an app or a setup, like you don't know them previously, correct?
Yes. When I think about that, that's typically how I think people are doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think that timeline obviously could change too if people have like, oh, we've been friends together, we've known each other, we've served together for a long time. I think those conversations are different. Yeah, I think I have. a friend of mine that he says, he's like, "Yeah, you can know within 30 minutes if someone's safe to be your authentic self with somebody." And I
Mhm.
always used to think that was really crazy, but I started really practicing that and dating, and it's like, that doesn't mean I know enough about them to know if I wanna be in a relationship with them in 30 minutes, but it
Yes.
do like, are my opinions respected even if we disagree? Do I feel good around this person? Am I excited to talk to them again? Like, those types of things I can learn pretty quickly. And also, like, how do I feel with the authenticity? And so, yeah, when I think about those timelines, I think, one of I hate talking about purity culture so much, but it's the nature of the work that we do. One of I would say the most damaging effects for me, where I had a lot of fear about breaking emotional intimacy boundaries, like,
Hmm.
freaked me the heck out of, like, I don't
Yeah.
wanna be some emotional slut. It's the word I'm gonna use,
Oh,
right? Like,
no.
I don't wanna do something wrong. I don't wanna do something sinful. Like, am I asking questions? Like, am I allowed to know this information about him? Like, is talking about this too much? Am I sharing too much? Like, it was just, like, all in my head. And then I just kinda stopped where I was like, "No, I'm just gonna share, like, what's happening." An example that comes to mind is, um, for me in those first 3 dates, and these are very specific, Bridget, so I'm not prescribing this for everybody. I'm
Sure.
saying these are little assessments that I put out in the first 3 dates. I use lots of core emotion language. So you're going to hear me say things like, "Oh, I felt a lot of fear about this," or "I felt really lonely this week," or "I felt a little bit of shame when I had this conversation with a coworker." Like, they're going to hear me use strong emotion language because I want to know how a man responds to that.
Mhm.
I am going to use some colorful language because that fits within my value system. And I
Mhm.
want to
Love
see
it.
how that goes appropriately. If that's something that's used, to convey emotion, I don't ever wanna be sworn at. Like, that's n ooh, we ain't doing that. And then I'm gonna slip something in about, my time in ministry, because I know that people have very different opinions about that, and so I do wanna make sure that that's a part of my story that can be held well. So those are 3 little things for me that I'm like, "Okay, in those first 3 dates," again, are does that mean I know everything about a person? No, but those are 3 low stakes things that create tons of safety for me on those first 3 dates of, is this person and I, like, would we get along as friends? And that also has helped too. Taking it, like, I live in Nashville, and so I have coffee with people I meet at events. Clarification. I have coffee with women I meet at events all the time, and sometimes it's helpful in my brain to go, if this was just some other lady that I met at an event, like, would I just say yes? Like, would I invite coffee? Would I, whatever? And that has helped it lower the stakes for me.
Yeah, I love that, and your core point about timeline correlating to how authentically I'm showing up is one we have to amplify because your point stands. You can go on 30 dates with someone and still not know them, still be masking, still be trying to perform to make her interested or make him like you. And so I think to get to that point, we could prescribe, and there are probably helpful lists of things to keep in mind. But when you when you think about going out with someone, it's so important to hold dearly your identity in Christ, that you're not trying to make someone like you. Your value is not at risk in this interaction. And so show up fully. That doesn't mean we're going to talk about super serious things, but it does mean make the silly joke that you think is funny. Wear the outfit that makes you feel good. Um, Offer the kind of date experience that you're comfortable with. I know there's a lot of pressure and conflicting opinions on what is a good date. What is a good first date? Is a coffee date an okay first date? And I think for the men who maybe are a little bit um, more financially limited, there can be a lot of pressure to think, I have to create an amazing first date experience for a person I don't know, or else I'm going to be counted out. But authenticity
Sad.
says, who am I in the goodness of right now? And what kind of really enjoyable experience can I provide that doesn't require I take out a loan or borrow money from people? Like, it's because it's possible right now. So I, I hope that connection makes sense. But we're saying the big point in this early stage is showing up fully as yourself and having a good time. I don't think you need to avoid se- more serious conversations, but rather than a checklist of tell me your salvation testimony, tell me about um, the spiritual practices that you are utilizing. Are you a member at
That
your church?
reminds me, can
Do
I
you
share
tithe?
something about
Please,
that?
please, yeah.
So, for me, I would say I had a lot of fear. Well, it probably was a lonely experience first. So, I a little bit of my faith journey was I was the first Christian in my family.
Mm,
I had like a mentor who was a teacher at school. That was really incredible that she was a believer. But the first time I had Christian community was in college. I would say the Christian college I was definitely more of a charismatic experience than I had ever been used to in my life. I wouldn't say it's like it wasn't a Pentecostal school, like it wasn't that, but it was in the middle. It was like spiritual formation and charismatic kinda put in a blender, and that was a
yeah,
new
yeah.
experience for me.
Okay.
So after that and I didn't start dating until after college. Again, I would say I don't necessarily recommend it, but that's how my journey was. We can talk about that in another episode. I was really scared of stepping outside of that denomination or outside of that spiritual viewpoint because I finally found like I found my people.
Mhm.
And so I felt very limited in dating, and so one of the things that actually was helpful to slow me down in the beginning is I actually stopped talking about faith until date 3. Like, for me, that was helpful, and I'm not saying, like, I didn't talk about faith at all, but I wasn't really asking those. Like, I was just trying to say, like, "Hey, do I like you as a human?" We can get into theology after, we can get into faith practice and what that looks like, but, like, I just wanna know you. Do I like you as a human? Do I enjoy spending time with you? And for me, kinda taking that pressure off. Now, I know that some other people are "Oh gosh," like, in my dating history, and I have a lot of friends have done this, it's like, "Oh, I didn't have those faith conversations in the first," and I wish I would've because I was putting off conversations that I know is actually really important to me. So I think everybody, it kinda depends. Um,
Yeah,
and
but
that's
if
one
you
of the things
find
I love.
yourself, oh, go ahead.
That's what I love about your coaching, is that you are not prescriptive, everybody has to do it this way.
We can't be. Our stories are too varied. And so if I'm saying everybody, if you're going to have a good Christian marriage, you have to date for a full year before you get engaged. I- What am I saying to the 43-year-old lady who still wants to have babies through her body? I'm saying significant things about her fertility journey if I require every Christian take a year. There are some clients I imagine I'll have most of the people that work with me have been 30s, 40s, but I imagine having a 23-year-old client who needs to take some more time, maybe date more
Yes.
than a year
Yeah.
because of his circumstances, his life, what's shaping
Mhm.
him, the
Uh-huh.
stories that he's working through. So yeah, we can't be overly prescriptive, but we can say it's so important to keep it real with yourself, with your trusted community, about what conversations you might be avoiding or trying to use as a way to stop thinking. If I think I hear your salvation testimony and now I don't need to think about your faith anymore, check, check. You go to my
Mhm.
denomination of church and you told me about when you prayed and received Christ, so I don't have to think about it anymore. If that's somehow turning off part of the data collection that dating is, that's a problem. Just like if you're thinking, oh, I didn't need to talk about faith because this person's super attractive and that rarely happens. I don't think a lot of people are cute. And so finally, I'm going on a date with somebody cute. We don't need to talk about faith. But then 6 months go by. Right? It's in this. It's important that we keep it real with ourselves about
Yeah.
what we might be trying to accomplish, what we think the information we're getting means,
Mhm.
and what we might be avoiding. And so, again, the overarching theme of this first stage is can I be myself? Do I feel beyond first date jitters? Do I feel like I'm trying to impress someone? How is my authentic expression of my opinions about something received? Um, yeah,
I
it's
think that's
less
also
about
why it's important to have outside people. Like, I just don't date by myself. Like, I
for
just don't.
sure.
Now, that doesn't mean that I'm sharing all the details of every like, that doesn't mean that, but to be like, "Hey, this is what I noticed what's coming up for me." And, you mentioned something about, like, are you stopping asking those conversations? And I think having those trusted voices, 2 or 3 people, you know, even 1 person is great. Like,
Mhm.
"Hey, this is what I'm noticing come up in me. This is where I'm feeling a little hesitation towards this person." And then sometimes just having outside friends to go, "Okay, hey, like, I get that. Sounds like you need to go get more clarity because you've actually written a story about this person that you don't know to be true. Let's go back." And like, having that support, I just think is so important. Like, this is so I think um I want people to hear that we don't have to figure this out by ourselves, and we're not immature for wanting partnership resources, whether that be a dating coach or listening to this podcast or having outside friends. Like, we were designed for community, and I really
Yeah.
do think that romantic relationships, whether it's a 3-date thing, a 3-month well, I don't care what it is. Like, I think we do better in community when we both have the support that we need.
Mhm. And yeah, I was gonna ask how, because you're touching on, like, loneliness epidemic, how isolated we are, um, more broadly, and I think that this conversation can be more readily acceptable to women than to men. It can feel like, "Oh, yeah, that's something that ladies do." Ladies talk about, you get your
Mm,
girlfriends together and you talk about all this stuff. Yeah, I recognize I'm gender stereotyping, but I think that men interact with each other in their friendships in a way that could frequently look different than female interaction. So for the guys listening, I don't want you to hear you need to have your group text that you're telling everything, every single thing to. In the ways that you have close friendship, honor your and utilize the people that care about you to engage in this process, not because you give them, yeah, I think that's really important to own. It can look different, but it's so important that we let someone speak into this part of our lives because we need we can't always see, especially when, and I want to bring up another topic that can get some controversy, especially when we're really strongly physically attracted to the person that we're dating. So,
mhm.
do you hear this, Bridget, that like in your coaching, do you hear people talk about maybe even suspicion of being physically attracted to their dates? I feel like we think wonkily about physical sexual attraction to someone in the Christian dating world.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
Um, when I talk to people about attraction and sexual desire, I'm so thankful. This is gonna be a really weird sentence, and I don't mean what you think I mean something different. Is that I really have worked really hard to invite sexual desire to lead me in my dating relationships. Now, what I have fear of people hearing is that if I think somebody's hot, I just do whatever I want. That's not what I'm talking about. But
no.
when I talk about sexual desire, maybe we've talked about this a little bit before, is I love talking about the essence of sexual joy. And I use this language a lot. And for me, the way I define sexual joy is that it's a moving force in our body that moves us towards experiences of pleasure, delight, and self giving. And so it actually moves me when I'm saying I invite sexual desire to lead in dating. I'm saying that it invites me to share more of myself. It invites me to get brave. It invites me to lean into curiosity of, "Ooh, there is an attraction here." And the attraction is I'm curious about more information here. So
Mm,
I think about I went to this is like a silly example, but I went to this like Valentine's Day singles something something a couple years ago. And there was this beautifully delicious man, that came in, and we started having a conversation, and very quickly into that conversation, I went, "Oh, that's about as far as that's gonna go." Like, I was like, it just
you knew.
was not for me. It's not for me. The attitude, the behavior, the conversation was not my vibe. Um, and so I think that we fear that attraction is we're gonna overlook things. And if that's if you have a history of doing that, which is totally fine. I mean, We all have our
Yeah, we
issues.
have
We all have
issues.
our things that
Yeah.
we overlook, right?
Mhm.
Um, to say, okay, like, what is this sexual joy? I always love to ask the question, like, what is the sexual joy? Tell me about what's missing in my life. Like, what am I attracted to? Like, when you find an attractive person, like, obviously, there's like, we have social and, society expectations of what an attractive person is. So there's that too. But there's also something that's like, slow down and pay attention. Like, what comes alive in you? Like, is it the way that they dress? Is it the way that they smell? Is it the way that they have eye contact? I was thinking about that yesterday of like, gosh, wow, like in the dating experiences where I've had really good eye contact, like it's created such a beautiful regard between us. Where when I've left dating experiences where there was a lack of eye contact, it's hard for me to stay connected to humanity in a person. And so, yeah, I would say slow it down, that being sexually attracted to somebody, physically attracted to somebody, right? I think those are two different things. I think there's physical attraction is like, ooh, you're yummy, and sexual attraction is like, ooh, I want to do more yummy things with you. Both are
Yeah.
which are very normal and natural. But my thing is that's not license for me to just like go hook up with somebody. That is
Right.
a what about their goodness, their beauty, their attractiveness? Like, what is it bringing to life in me? What is it reminding me of? Um, and, sometimes it's like, well, I just love that they're like silly and I watch them play sports and just the way that they're free in their body. Like I wish I had that. I watch them the way that they dress nice, they take care of themselves, they show up to meetings, whatever. It's like, oh, it's just awakening something of like, I want to be that kind of person. We've had Sam Jolman on our podcast recently, and, he was talking about the experience he had with a beautiful woman at the gas station where he was just like, something about her beauty inspired me to have a life of meaning and to invite, right? He's married, like, invite my wife into like, I want us to be the kind of people that dress up and do
Dress
fancy
up.
things sometimes. Like, that's important. And like, how do we make that a part of our life? And so, um,
Yeah. It's part of what's
yeah,
missed
I think
if
it can be good.
we're suspicious of attraction. I think so much harm has
Yes.
been done to Christian men and women in downplaying the importance of finding your person attractive, or
Yeah.
like siphoning what you do with attraction just to marriage, so that there's this um, attempt to cut yourself off from noticing, which is really, really harmful. I think, to bring up Sam again, he has this really poignant vignette in his book in which he's talking to a married couple, the husband of whom says, the husband of which says, I don't even notice beautiful women anymore because
Yeah.
um, I'm so good at, I mean, I don't think he said bouncing his eyes, but just like he's conquered lust,
Yeah.
so he doesn't even notice beautiful women. And the look on his wife's face that Sam relays is like, so what about me? The problem is not noticing beauty. The problem, lust is not a problem of noticing beauty. Beauty is holy, beauty is from God, and so we cannot turn the goodness of God in beauty into evil. It becomes evil to ignore beauty. It becomes evil to relegate beauty to a low man on the totem
Mhm.
pole, to act like it's not important, or to think that it's dangerous. Beauty's not dangerous. What's dangerous, what's problematic, is wanting to consume something that doesn't belong to you. Wanting to consume um, is the problem, not noticing. And so, in our dating, while we're swiping in this horribly gamified way of connecting with people online, and while we're meeting people in real life, the problem is never noticing beauty. I mean, it should
Yes.
lead you to connection. It just can't be the only thing, right? If that beauty that you're in the presence of doesn't awaken in you a desire to be known and to know beyond the beauty, that's a problem. You have to listen to that data and say, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not with you. Beautiful facade. The attitude, the speech, it doesn't align with who I am. And so you get to be a beautiful person over there. And I'm going to keep looking for my beautiful person that does align in these ways. So yeah, I think if we can lessen the pressure on these initial dating experiences, from swipe to getting to a first, second, third date, if we can remember that our whole purpose is to show up fully as ourselves in kindness and respect and authenticity and notice how we are being received. And then from that information, make a determination. Do I want to keep moving towards you? Or have I learned what I needed to learn to know, yeah, I don't I don't need to keep getting to know you in this
Yes.
way. I bless you and release you to find your person. It's not me.
Mhm.
But this brings up like a lot of, so part of the pressure is on these initial experiences and what am I gonna know? But another part of the pressure, Bridget, I think, is um when it's fine enough that
Mhm.
we don't know, like, is it time to move forward? I think we've done a good job in
Yeah.
this conversation talking about these baseline things, but to be clear again, there needs to be a baseline of faith, right? Um, there needs to be a baseline of faith mutuality. You'll get to know the deeper things, but if you are a Christian dating, the person you're dating should at least be able to say, "Yeah, I'm a Christian." They should be able to claim that title, and yeah, without reservation. But then for some weeks, we're saying, "Do you have fun together? Do you feel safe to show up fully? Are you respected?" And in the times when, even in that first initial chunk of time, there's disagreement or rupture, can you two appropriately repair? Can you two appropriately repair? Those are some like high level things that are guiding who you're dating.
Yeah. Yeah, can we talk a little bit about that? I think relational rupture and repair in this first stage of dating,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
interesting, because sometimes I have a lot of couples like, "Well, we don't fight at all." It's like, okay, I get that, right? You haven't necessarily built enough history together to have, I don't even like the term fight, but like a really animated disagreement, right? But
yeah.
in those first little bit, I think it's important. I always, even in friendship, like I really do believe this. And maybe it's a little pessimistic, but I'm okay with it. I think that you can spend about 48 hours with someone before you bump into something that's just not like how you view the world, not like how you operate, that's uncomfortable. And I think it's important to mention that. And so, everybody comes into dating with these invisible narratives of what's allowed,
Yeah.
what we should do. Everybody has those different things, and so to be able to say, "Hey, I have, hey, I'm really curious what's happening for you. I have felt a little lonely. Not, I don't know. Let's just say texting for a second. Like, hey, in the beginning of getting to know you, I felt really comfortable with a date once a week, and we didn't really talk in between then. As we've gotten to know each other, and it sounds like we're both still moving in that direction, I'm actually feeling some loneliness in our connection that we don't have any touch points throughout the week. Is that something you're comfortable with? What does that
Love.
look like to you? Because, I am not the type of person like, I don't like to be texted all day long every day from the beginning, like, "How are you doing today?"
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Gosh, we've had one conversation. I don't have that level of space." But if you're not bringing that up, those are the things that build, and those are the things that will prevent you from having the clarity that you deserve and that you need to honor another person in dating. Because if someone says, um let's just play through that situation. Okay, let's say
Yeah, yeah,
someone
yeah.
says like, "Hey, I'm," and again, because everybody's different, because the timeline of when that conversation's happening and what feels appropriate for both people, like we can't. That's going to be different based on if and when you have that conversation. But to really, that's why I talk about the core of like, oh wow, I was feeling some fear. I've actually really wanted to text you throughout the week,
Yeah,
but I felt fear of interrupting your work week or, not wanting to intrude on other dates because I knew you were still seeing other people or whatever it is. And when you can have that conversation about what's motivating the pain source, you have the opportunity to see more clearly. And
yeah.
so, maybe it's something different. Maybe it's a like, do you have another like low level example of like a
One you're talking about is really good. Like, the one you're talking about is good. I think about scheduling times to talk. I think in this stage it's really important to not be boundaryless in your time with the person
Yes.
that you're seeing lightly in this early stage. And so I
Yeah.
encourage people to schedule times to talk on the phone. So let's say somebody's late to the phone call, 30 minutes late to the phone call. Um, like
Yes,
it's
that's great.
important to notice the irritation, right? Whoever is late, I would assume, not I would assume, I think should be the one who's saying, "Hey, I missed this. So sorry about it. Is
Yes.
there an opportunity to reschedule?" Leading in that way. But the person who's receiving the lateness can also articulate, yeah, that was so disappointing. I was really looking forward to talking at 7, and when I didn't hear from you till 8, man, that really bummed me out. Sharing your authentic emotional experience is good. That's showing up in the room. And I think whether this is your person or not, in your for a relationship, this is laying groundwork and muscle memory, emotional
Yes.
memory to making it the most normal thing in the world to express both positive and negative emotions. Expressing your delight and expressing your disappointment is important. And for the guys that are listening, I want you to be stalwart enough in your identity to be able to receive your woman's disappointment. It is going to serve your future marriage so significantly
Preach the
when you
gospel.
can tolerate disappointing her and repair, as opposed to turning that into some irrec- um, irreparable assault on your character, right?
Yes.
We're both just humans in the relationship. We're gonna flub up. We're going to mess up. And
Yes.
being able to say, gosh, yeah, I own that. I should have texted you and said, hey, this meeting is taking longer and I'm not going to be available till this. Does that still work for you? Or do we need to reschedule another time? Can we do that? Like the humility of doing that rather than out of shame, oh, blowing up, being upset that you were called out for what you knew you did wrong. And that sort of stuff. I think that example gets, I'm getting into the weeds because I love an example. And I love the weeds, quite
Mm.
frankly, not in my garden, but in these
Yeah.
conversations. But like, I think being able to talk through that is important. Bridget,
Mhm.
you brought up on the, overtly, hey, I'd like to have more communication in between our dates. That would feel good to me is another way of asking for what you want. And I think that that's something
Yeah.
a man or a woman can do. And how you're met when someone says, I'm not an all day texter, that doesn't feel great to me, but I am willing to, like, I do like what we're doing. And so I'm open to scheduling a phone call or scheduling a video call in between
Yeah.
dates. You're negotiating, you're getting really good information. Can this person not lie and say, yeah, whatever you want, but negotiate with you well to have a rhythm that you're creating together that feels good, and that's good information, whether the relationship, you know, ends at the altar or not. It's good practice for the individual, and it's good data collecting for you two as you're navigating. Is this
Mhm.
is this okay? Can we talk for a second about were you gonna say something, Bridget?
Mm-mm.
Can we talk for a second about what kinds of dates um are good in this type of connection or time?
Mhm.
So I've already
Yeah,
given
for sure.
strong opinions about I'm in love with a coffee date for a first date. Here's why. Here's my commercial for a coffee date. One, it is low stakes. Meeting someone for even an expensive matcha. Let's say you live in NYC and your coffee date is still $30 because your matcha costs $15. Even that is low stakes in the grand scheme of the kinds of events. And what does that facilitate? Safety, space. It releases the pressure that there's going to be an expectation of anything more. You and I'm an advocate for men asking women out. I don't think it's wrong when women ask men out, but I love when a man asks a woman out. Guys, you show and set the stage for there's no pressure. We are free to get to know each other and you're safe. That's a lot of what a man brings to the dating experience. He can lead so beautifully in establishing, you don't got to worry about it, girl. We're all right. Let's just drink this coffee and have a good time. So
Mhm.
I love the
Yeah.
way a coffee date releases some pressure in that way. I like just practically that it's not expensive. I advocate for my clients to be dating multiple people in this stage. Before exclusivity, I think it's so important to,
Mm,
if you can, connect with lots of people. I think it helps with not being overly attached to one, especially young person. I think it helps, the comparison helps with, noticing what relational needs and attractions are being met in individuals. I have observed dating multiple people really inspiring, men and women to imagine more. Imagine, it like creates categories for how awesome their person could be because of the ways different individuals, with whom it doesn't work out in the end, can show up. It creates categories for like, oh, I don't have to shrink back. So, um, I think that that's really important. I'm losing my train of thought because I'm so excited about excited about this, but I think a coffee date is a great first date. A walk, ice cream,
yeah.
hot chocolate if it's cold. These are wonderful ways to, in a low key way, connect with someone. I think early on, it's going to be important to do some sort of physical activity date. I think um, it might not, maybe not an isolated hike, but something fun where you get to move, bowling, mini golf, maybe not laser tag, unless there's some time before or after to really talk. But something
Yeah.
that going to an arcade, like it can be really fun to just play. And again, it keeps things light. And then after that, maybe that can be the time for um, a lunch or a dinner date,
Mhm.
a puzzle date, something where you get to, yeah, I'm avoiding like movies or
Yeah.
things that go super, super long. We want to facilitate actually getting to know someone. Um, and that requires conversation and that nonverbal interaction that you don't get when you're sitting side by side looking at a screen, um, etc. So, some opinions about the dates that happen in this stage.
Yeah,
What do
for
you think
sure.
of that?
I think, again, I'm trying to be aware of my city context is forming this viewpoint. So if you are in a small town, it might be a different experience. I have lived in both.
Great
I
point.
grew up in a very small town, and so our options are limited in like okay, like, I think about if I was to date, like, where I grew up, I mean, the closest sure, there was one restaurant, one or I guess 2, technically, one was a diner, one restaurant in town that you were gonna see everybody and your brother there, like, that's all you got for 35 minutes. You can drive 35 minutes to go to a city where there wasn't that, but, like, there's just in a small town, there's different options. But
That's a good
again, I
point.
think for me, going back to when I spiral in this stage, which I definitely have done, is to go, what would I offer a friend? What would I offer a colleague that I met at a networking
So
lunch?
good.
Like, I I really love I do a lot of networking walks and coffees and things like that. And it's like, okay, just keep it low stakes because then you can build on later. And I think that you can always build. So say you can always build. And I just think it's pretty human that your nervous system is probably a little bit on fire. Like, at this
100%.
point, if you are I mean, at any age that you are, if you're 20s, and you're learning how to do this, your 30s, 40s, 50s, and you're like, "I've done this for decades, and this is really" like, your nervous system is probably a little on fire. Like, just the risk of, "Okay, I'm gonna step out again." Like, "I wanna find love." Like, even though that's not the presenting motivation. Those motivations are still showing up in your body. And so I think to care for your body well, to care for your nervous system well, to say, yeah, I have an hour to go to coffee with you. I'm not agreeing to a 7-hour extravaganza across
No.
the city. Now, at some point, yeah, that's so fun. Do that, have fun. But I wouldn't start there. Um, we can kind of get a little bit in the love bomby territory when we have big extravagant displays like that. Uh,
Yeah.
your motives matter. Um, I do want to say that your motives matter and it's okay. This is where we're going to be really brave and have these adult conversations is to say you might have the most beautiful pure motives ever and the
Hmm.
person you're on a date with might receive your initiation as threatening. Like,
Mm,
you know,
through no
and
fault of
this
your own.
through no fault of your own. And I think
Mhm.
especially for guys, we live in such a scary world where it's like, "Oh, I do one thing wrong and a woman has already, villainized me, said I'm a predator, said all," and it's like, "Well, I don't wanna do nothing." And I
Yeah.
think the safest thing you can do there is to just to literally I call it, like narrating the context. So to say, "Hey, we are getting to know each other," right? I think women, you can have this conversation too, but men, this is super sexy. You can have this conversation. "We're getting to know each other. We are 2 different people. I assume at some point I'm gonna say something stupid or my life experience is just gonna be different from yours, and you're probably gonna experience some pain with me. I would feel so much joy if you shared that because it really matters in our experiences. You feel like you're honored and safe, and so just know that I'm always open to feedback about that." Like, is that terrifying to say? 100%. I say that in friendships. So as I'm getting to know people, I always say that. At some point, we're gonna bump into each other, so it's gonna be painful, so please tell me. But if,
Yeah.
again, ladies, you can initiate that conversation. I'd rather have the conversation than not have it at all. But dudes, if you can say that, if you can say out loud,
My
"I
gosh.
want to create safety and honor for you," we're probably gonna because you can have the like, having pain in this early, connection stage doesn't mean incompatibility, it just means humanity.
Come on. You better say
And
that.
so if you can what we call repair. Repair is returning back to the relationship because when you have some sort of relational rupture, some sort of relational pain, it's very easy to go have that conversation with a friend and not come back to the person about it.
Uh-huh.
Um, because you're like, "Oh, well, they made this one statement about politics or they made this one statement about this pastor. Like that must mean that they believe da 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 da. I could never marry them." Compared to "Hey, I feel a little bit of fear bringing this up to you. I experienced some pain when you mentioned this political figure. I'm really curious about your perspectives on that." You might have the conversation and go, "Okay, cool. That's not my personal perspective of the world, but thank you for showing up in honor. And I feel safe in having a disagreement of perspective with you. I feel great." If you bring that conversation up and you're like, "Well, yeah, you're just an idiot. Can't believe you don't vote like me." Again, information you need to have on if this person is relationally safe for you.
I love the way you framed this, Bridget, and saying we can have conversations about really inciting topics in a way that is respectful. And I recognize, just in listening to you talk, I recognize um, the level of emotional awareness and emotional maturity that these kinds of conversations require. But isn't that part of what's so frustratingly missing from the dating experience right now? And especially in church, there there's not space to just be people together. And again, I think this is because of the way we've said you have to date with all this pressure. There's not space to just be people getting to know each other and discerning and determining and having good conversations. It's not just in dating, but dating takes a really big hit when we can't humbly say, I think I heard you say this, and my my brain is filling in the blanks. I want to hear from you. What does that mean to
Yeah.
you? What does
Yeah.
Yeah, I can think of particular things that I will refrain from saying, but like, what does that term mean? What
Mm,
does this political party mean? What does this
yeah.
conflict in the world mean to you? That feels personal. It seems like it's personal for you. What? Tell me more of that story. These are ways to be curious about something, and because dating is not a promise to marry anybody, we're free to have those kinds of conversations and know the decisions we're making are based on data and not on the blanks our brains fill in because we weren't brave enough to have the conversation.
Yeah, so good. I know we're kind of getting towards the end of our conversation today. I would love to touch a little on physical boundaries in this
Let's do it.
stage of dating, but curious as we've hit a lot of different directions today. If you were kind of to give a recap over stage one dating, building connection, can you give us kind of a flashback over what we've talked about today that you want people to take away?
Yeah, in the first 6 or 7 dates, depending on where you are in your life, the name of the game is showing up fully and authentically. Really be aware of where you're masking where you're trying to impress and where you're showing up fully, not as a personal responsibility, but as a response to the other person. The name of the game is fun. So facilitate fun through low pressure but enjoyable experiences. There is no better first date than a coffee date, in my not so humble opinion. Try to do dates that are active, a hike, bowling, mini golf. Try to have experiences where you get to talk and continue to get to know each other in your fullness. And then be willing to, especially gentlemen, but be willing to lead in the fact that rupture can happen even in this non-committed stage, and it can be repaired as well. That rupture doesn't mean we're incompatible. It means we're two humans, like you beautifully said. Um, what Yeah, I love the way you think about physical intimacy in this stage of relationship, Bridget. Would you be willing to share that with our listeners?
Yeah, for sure. Whenever we talk about physical connection in dating relationships, you're always going to hear me talk about I want these decisions to be motivated by your values, not by
Yes.
rules. And we were given a lot of rules. I jump to rules when I feel fear of like, oh, it
Same.
has to be this, it has to be that, it has to be whatever. Because it feels safe, especially when we're talking about our sexual desire, our bodies, like especially for women, like it can put a lot into that. Whenever just kind of laying the ground, not the ground rules, right? The framework, the foundation for physical connection. It's what do we want this level of physical connection to communicate about our level of commitment to one another? We are going to say that from day 1 till day 1,000 till
Yes.
forever is what does this say about our commitment to each other? Um, I think that it matters what that answer is for you. I have a little note in my phone um, that I work through. I help different clients through of like, hey, I want you to have a framework of what is the statement that you're communicating. So for me, off the top of my head, it's like hand holding means I'm with you and I'm glad to be with you.
Hmm.
Um, and so I, I would say I'm actually pretty. Um, reluctant to introduce a high level of physical connection in this connection stage 1. I prefer to keep the more romantic things like hand holding and um, kissing in a committed relationship. That works best for me. But again, it's because what I've assigned to those things to mean. It's not mean I'm going to be weird. I'm a very naturally huggy person. My stepdad is Brazilian, and so I came from a family of Brazilians and Italians where we kissed everybody. I would kiss everybody on the cheek. So for me, not necessarily date 1, 2, 3, but um, a kiss on the cheek feels comfortable to me. It feels like
And
a, um,
casual.
casual I'm honoring, but that's again, that's my family history, that's my, cultural history, like, that's something for some other person, like, that might not be comfortable. But again, I'm saying those things out loud. That is a huge thing for me. I am the girl that's like way TMI. I'm gonna have 100 conversations. But because I have practiced that in my dating life, I have been able to experience beautiful physical connection and dating with men that's aligned with my values and has honored both of us. That at this point I'm not married yet. So all of the dating experiences I have had have ended with an ending, but I've been able to walk away from those things to go, "Ooh, gosh, like, I'm really excited." Um, and there's been painful lessons I've had to learn as I've had to figure out, like, "Ooh, actually, not having the conversation led to a lot of pain for both of us. I
Right.
want to be more clear. I want to be whatever." So I would say, I don't recommend making out with somebody in that beginning stage. I don't know that that really helps your brain very much. Um,
Right.
I think that you get to decide even if that's the choice that you make, right? Like, you are a grown up. I am not I am not your mother. I cannot tell you what to do and not do with your body. But I do wanna implore you to get really curious of, like, what's happening and how is this creating more peace in the relationship? I'll have to make sure in the show notes for this episode that I have an Instagram post where I talk about the iconic question, how far is too far, and some reframing questions to what are some other questions we can ask instead. So I would say recap, you get to decide. I would try to keep things as PG as possible in this beginning stage because our brains, like when we're doing yummy things, our brains don't always think clearly.
And it's forging connections that you might not really be able to maintain physiologically. Yeah.
Correct. I think what feels good to you. I think that for someone, a quick kiss goodbye can be great. I think for some people in this beginning stages, like hand holding is something that gives them data that they need. And so I'm not going to villainize that. I'm going to say if that's something that creates safety and this, oh gosh, I was pulling myself in the eye with my pen.
Careful.
For those of you that are watching on video, we always have a good time. You must have conversations. I will say this till the day
Yeah.
that I die. If you cannot say out loud, hey, I'm comfortable with a kiss on the cheek tonight. I know, we've been on several dates. I'm feeling a lot of chemistry with you. I'm at a place where I actually do feel comfortable with a kiss on the cheek or a kiss on the lips. I just am not ready for your tongue in my mouth. Like, if we can't have those types of conversations, I just really don't think there's the sexual maturity present to create a lot of safety. And I've been the person that's been afraid to have the conversations. I've been at the place where I have not had the maturity to say, oh gosh, I'm going to say the scary thing. And if that's you listening, there's zero judgment. It is a kind invitation to say, okay, that's where we're going to need some support so that we can be a healthy, relationally safe, sexually mature adult that can have conversations. If you're feeling like you're struggling with that, holla at your girls. We're here. We'd love to do some coaching with you to talk with you through that. Or if you have other friends in your life that's like, hey, like this is actually a struggle for me. I know a lot of women who end up agreeing to things physically, especially in these early stages of like a guy put his hand on my low back and I was like, we've had 2 coffees. I'm not ready for that level of connection. I don't want that, but I don't want to scare him away. What happens is he going to think I'm a prude for saying I don't want his hand on my back or that I'm not
Is
ready
he
to
gonna
kiss
get
him or
mad?
that,
Yeah.
whatever. And especially this in older adults too of like, well, I'm 45. I should be fine with it. It's like, who's to
But you're not.
say age has anything to do with it? You don't have to be.
Yeah.
And for guys, last thing I'm going to say, and we can talk about this forever. Guys, I want to say that your sexual desire for a beautiful, attractive woman is so beautiful.
Good.
So we're not going to shame sexual desire. Like, oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. Of course you want to kiss her. Of course you want to be close to her. Blessing that in yourself to say, coming home from your date and saying, wow, I was so moved by her beauty. I felt so activated by her. There's something of my masculine sexuality that got like brought to life in being with her. I love this. This is beautiful. I love being with her in this way. Bless that. And what will create relational safety with a woman is conversation. I guarantee.
I
Have a
think,
conversation. If you don't know, talk about it.
yeah, like it could sound like on a first date, this was so fun. I would love to give you a hug. Is that something you're comfortable with?
Yes.
As simple as that. No pressure. Like that kind of thing. I want to give an example of how it really
Yes.
can flow
Yeah.
verbally to say this because not everything is going to be a drawn out conversation, but you with ease can say, yeah, this was so great. I'd love to kiss you on the cheek. Is that something you're comfortable with? Of course. And then by your disposition, by the way you receive the answer to that question, you create safety, you create trust. So don't fear getting the answer wrong.
Yes.
Know that you are building trust in your response to the answer and you are leading well, which is so important. Oh, we really could talk about this for 12 hours. And maybe over the course of this podcast, we will talk about it, but just not all in one time.
One final thing that's coming to mind as we have that conversation, and we'll talk about this more in our next episode as we step into stage 2 of dating. But I always recommend for physical connection, having that conversation outside of the activation moment Like when
Yes.
you've had some space to have curiosity of like, right, if you come home from a date and you're like, oh gosh, like I really could have kissed them. That sounds really delicious to me. Process that with yourself. If you need to have some outside support, great. Then bring up the conversation when your faces aren't smushed together and you're not all hot and horny, right? Of like, hey, I have been really enjoying our connection. I'm curious about introducing this level of, you don't have to say it like that, but you know what I mean? I'm curious about introducing hand holding. I'm curious about introducing a kiss on the cheek. I'm interested about a kiss goodnight or coming to my house, right? I think that's a conversation because I think you can do that with integrity. Again, that's a hot take we'll talk about next episode. I do think that you can be alone together in a home and not sin. I do think that's possible.
That's right.
Um, but to have those conversations outside of it so that there isn't the pressure of like, you have to give me an answer right now. I'm going to kiss you right now. Just to like, hey, yes. Yeah. Like, hey, I'm curious about it. Have it. And if the person says no, and right, this has been both. I have initiated physical connection with a man, and a man has said, wow, thank you. I'm actually not there yet. And I've had a man introduce a level of connection to me that he was ready for, that I wasn't ready for. And we just have those conversations. And we say that of like, ooh, I feel a little embarrassed, or I feel a little bit of fear that you're going to feel, unsafe with me asking. This is where I'm coming from. Again, happy to process any pain you experience in me asking.
Hmm.
It goes both ways. I want to create safety for you. I want to honor you. And if the answer is
Yeah.
no, I'm always going to honor that. And if there's ever anything that comes up in me asking, because we're just two different people, you always can talk to me about that.
I love that.
Amazing.
So
So much joy.
good.
Well, friends, stage 1, can't wait to hear your thoughts. Reach out to us on Instagram. I believe we're on TikTok too, which I feel very cool, even though it's not me. We're just saying it's not me on the TikTok. Yeah, we believe in you. We bless you. We bless your good hearts. And we're excited for our next conversation about what happens next in this dating journey.
So good. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for spending your time with us today. If this conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or helped you feel a little less alone in your dating journey, we'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who might also need the encouragement. You'll find links in the show notes to connect with today's guest, as well as other ways to work with Lauren and me through coaching and other opportunities designed to support you in dating with clarity, trust, and integrity. We believe you don't have to shut down your desire or abandon your values to build a meaningful connection. And we're honored to walk alongside you as you navigate that journey. You can also find us on Instagram at Dating and Desire, or we'll continue the conversation. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.